guys, it's Nathan Danger here, Hello Danger fans. Right, so we're going to react to something that is for someone who, I'm not spoiling alert on it, but obviously it's based on Peterhead Prison Museum. I know, shocking, but I thought, why not we react to the S.A.S riot thing with Jiggy? I don't know, guys. So let's go.
On the 28th of September 1987, 48 prisoners held in Peterhead Prison in North East Scotland rose up and seized control over D Hall within the complex. For Peterhead Prison, this was its second riot in just 2 years, with Officer Jackie Stewart, who was one of the prison guards on duty at the time, recalling that a colleague had placed an inmate on a minor report in the morning, but in the evening, when they were out for leisure, the inmate tried to stab the officer who was involved. I went to his aid, as anybody would have done, but after wrestling the prisoner to the floor, I noticed the whole hall had become involved in the incident, and events just spiralled from there. In the unfolding unrest, Officer Jackie Stewart and the other prison guard were taken as hostages by a handful of the prisoners, although the second guard would eventually be released on the following day. Despite this, Officer Stewart continued to be held captive and was later marched from one of the prison cells and onto the roof of D Hall, from where he was stabbed 3 times, threatened to be set alight, and regularly beaten. Meanwhile, additional police units had moved into the Peterhead area in response to the riot, but given that it had developed into a hostage situation, additional resources were required, and soon 2 members of the 22nd S.A.S Regiment were sent out and attached to the police in an advisory role. At the same time, a group of 20 soldiers from D Squadron, the 22nd S.A.S Regiment, were placed on high alert to deploy to Peterhead.
I'm not gonna lie, but seeing that photo there, it just it looks so creepy. Seeing that mask, well, it's not a mask, it's one of that head things. I don't know. But it looks so creepy, I would be pooping myself if I seen that, no joke.
However, authorization for military intervention was only to be given in the event that all other options to end the crisis had been exhausted. As such, over the next few days, negotiations between the police and the prisoners took place in the hopes of securing the safe release of Officer Stewart, who had by now been moved from the roof and back down into one of the prison cells. Consequently, based on this development and fearing for the well-being of the hostage, the Home Secretary Douglas Hurd, after conferring with Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and senior police officials, gave the green light for the S.A.S to intervene in the early morning hours of the 3rd of October 1987. From their staging area at R.I.P, the men of D Squadron were flown into Aberdeen on board a C-130 transport aircraft, from where they were then taken to Peterhead. On arrival on the scene, the S.A.S quietly entered the prison complex through a rear entrance and were taken to the prison's gymnasium, where a briefing was carried out and an assault plan was drawn up. Thereafter, the S.A.S, clad in black overalls and body armour and wearing gas masks, split off into 4 teams of 4 men to execute the assault. Due to the nature of the operation, the S.A.S were instructed to only use their firearms if absolutely necessary, and were instead to storm the objective with batons, stun grenades and CS gas. Present at the time and attached to the team tasked with clearing the first floor of D Hall was Squadron Sergeant Major Peter Ratcliffe, who later recounted. Silently, the 4 teams got into position and made their preparations, but as the guys edged their way along the slippery wet parapet, they were spotted from across the yard by prisoners in B Wing, which held several hundred men. They shouted warnings to alert the hostage takers. By now, however, everything was in place for the rescue, and the officer commanding didn't wait a moment longer. At exactly 0500 on the 3rd of October 1987, the 4 S.A.S teams received the signal to begin the assault. On 3 of the floors of D Hall, 3 of the teams breached through metal doors and stormed onto the metal walkways, deploying as they did so stun grenades and CS gas to incapacitate the rioters. Simultaneously, the fourth team, located on the roof, breached through the ceiling of the cell Officer Stewart was being held in, and within seconds, the men of the S.A.S had grabbed the hostage and were escorting him out to safety. In the meantime, the other S.A.S teams were making their way through the rest of the building and dealing with the rioters, who, stunned and caught off guard by the speed and intensity of the assault, put up no resistance and were very quickly subdued. Thus, just 3 minutes into the operation, D Hall had been secured and the riots had been quelled, and shortly afterwards the police moved in to take over from the S.A.S, who slipped out of Peterhead prison as swiftly and silently as they had arrived only 1 hour before. The men of D Squadron would then return to Aberdeen and board aircraft that would take them back to their garrison in Hereford, with Squadron Sergeant Major Ratcliffe concluding. The flight back was slow, but I passed the time thinking about the events of the pre-dawn hours, and reflecting on my luck that once again I'd been involved in the action, another piece of the regiment's history. The self-styled hard men of Scotland's toughest maximum security prison turned out to be about as tough as newborn kittens, when faced with really hard men for the S.A.S.
I should be reading this, Nathan Danger, but I don't because I'm an idiot. Right, I'm going reading. In the aftermath of the events of the Peterhead prison riot, the element of the S.A.S was not mentioned for various reasons, and it wasn't until January 1993 that the British government officially confirmed that the S.A.S had freed Officer Stewart. The raid also marked the first operational use of the S.A.S in Scotland. But it was a short job, less than 12 hours, and we were back in Hereford in time for a second breakfast. Damn. Okay guys, so that's that video made, well this video made obviously, for someone called Jackie Stewart. You all might know he passed away yesterday, so I just thought I would make a tribute video for him, and yeah, rest in peace Jackie Stewart, or as I'll call him, Officer Jackie Stewart as everybody knows him. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say, and I'll see you guys when I see you. Ciao.